What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and we got some alarming news here for Americans and for the rest of the world. Will we have yet another large scale war here, in addition to what is happening to Ukraine? And this is very alarming because President Biden has said that we, Americans, would defend Taiwan with American troops if China invaded Taiwan. President Biden has said this on multiple occasions. And right now, Taiwan is saying that China is getting ready to launch a war against them. Take a listen to this.
China's military says that it is ready to fight after completing 3 days of large-scale combat exercise around Taiwan. The exercises follow the Taiwanese president's trip to the U.S. last week.
And now, in an exclusive interview, Taiwan's foreign minister tells CNN's chief national security correspondent Jim Shooter that China is, quote, trying to get ready to launch a war against Taiwan. Jim is with us now. Boy, those are sobering words, to put it mildly. What more did the foreign minister tell you?
Well, I'll tell you, we watch these exercises from the outside with alarm. The scale of them, the apparent target here, right? A military attack on invasion of Taiwan. So I asked the foreign minister, how does Taiwan look at these exercises from the inside and with genuine alarm and seriousness? Because what they see in the scale of these things and the seriousness are preparations, training for a military attack on the island. There's genuine concern there. Is Beijing, in your view, threatening Taiwan with war?
Yes, indeed. Look at the military exercises and also their rhetoric. They seem to be trying to get ready to launch a war against Taiwan. But if we look at the UN Charter, the most fundamental tenet in resolving international disputes should be through peaceful means. And Beijing's way of handling the differences between Taiwan and China is through coercion, military threat, and the threat to use force against Taiwan. And these are unacceptable. And therefore, the Taiwanese government look at the Chinese military threat as something that cannot be accepted, and we condemn it.
Does Taiwan have today what it needs to defend itself?
Yes, we do. We have been procuring military arsenals from the United States for a long time. And when President Biden was in office all these years, they have announced 9 batches of arms sale to Taiwan. And we have also been increasing our military training so that we are ready at any moment if China wants to launch a war against Taiwan. And I think in a war situation, the determination is probably more important than the military equipment. And this is also going to impact economically the rest of the world. And therefore, the international community, especially democracies, should tell China to stop threatening war and to stop preparing for war against Taiwan.
These exercises, of course, followed the visit of the Taiwanese president to the U.S., including meetings among them with the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy. Is there any regret on the Taiwanese side about this visit? Is it your view, your concern that the costs were too high?
No. The president of Taiwan, whether it's President Lee, President Chen, President Ma, or now President Tsai, we have been visiting our diplomatic allies in Latin America and with transits through the United States. And it's been going on for decades. And therefore, China should not make any exception out of this transit through the United States. China cannot dictate how Taiwan make friends. And China cannot dictate how our friends want to show support to Taiwan.
You mentioned outside support for Taiwan's defense. More than once, President Biden has said that the U.S. will defend Taiwan militarily if China were to attack. As you know, oftentimes his advisors will then say that the U.S. policy has not changed, but then the president will say it again. The U.S. will defend Taiwan militarily. Does Taiwan believe that the U.S. would come to Taiwan's defense militarily if China were to invade?
Well, there are different things the United States can do at an event of a Chinese military attack against Taiwan. But we have also made it very clear, defending Taiwan is our own responsibility. It's our freedom, and it's our democratic way of life, and it's our sovereignty. And we want to defend ourselves. And what we see is that the United States seems to be more determined than ever in creating a situation that China would know that its military attack against Taiwan is going to be associated with a heavy cost. And we appreciate the United States for having this posture.
Before we go, there are differing assessments of when China might make an attempt to attack Taiwan militarily. There's a U.S. general who made quite some headlines several weeks ago when he said, be prepared by 2025. There have been intelligence assessments that China might try by 2027, or at least that Xi has told his military to be ready by then. From Taiwan's point of view, has it become a question not of if, but of when China might take military action?
It is our perspective that China may use force against Taiwan. But if we learn what China has learned over the years, is that they want to use military force at the time when they have to. But sometimes they want to crush the enemies without the actual use of force. And we are seeing different kinds of perspectives being in discussion here in Taiwan. But no matter when China is going to use its military force against Taiwan, Taiwan needs to be prepared. If China sees that Taiwan is prepared, Taiwan has adequate defense capabilities, I'm sure the Chinese leaders will think twice before they decide to use force against Taiwan. And no matter whether it is 2025 or 2027 or even beyond, Taiwan simply needs to get ready.
Yeah, so Taiwan very concerned that they are going to be invaded by China. And it's not a matter of are they going to be invaded by China, but a matter of when. And we have seen the aggression and the statements by China. China considers Taiwan a part of them, part of the one China policy, even though Taiwan has never been a part of China and they have always been their own country, which is kind of strange and shocking to me. You can let me know your thoughts on this. Here is House Speaker and leader of the Republicans, Kevin McCarthy, on what he has to say about this and preparations for Taiwan and the U.S. Take a listen here.
Mr. Speaker, Andrew Desiderio from Punchbowl News. I'm wondering if you could talk about your sense of President Tsai's assessment of how imminent an actual attack or invasion from China might be at this point, and what she specifically asked for from Congress in terms of military assistance, economic assistance, things you guys can do in the NDAA or through the China Select Committee. Thank you.
Let me be very clear. We advocate that that day never comes. And if we've learned anything from Ukraine, there's actions that could have been taken 5 years ago, so Ukraine never had. Deterring that action to take place would have saved thousands of lives. I think today is a part of that. We have always had with the six assurances that we could supply weapons to Taiwan, that they could defend themselves, that war would not be created. They have purchased a number of weapons from America. Some have been delayed. I think one of the things that we had talked about, how could we speed that up in the process? I think you have a commitment from both sides here to make sure that happens. How can we build more trade, economics? I think that helps along the way as well. I would hope that as lawmakers, our goal is to make sure those days don't happen. And I think we should learn from what's happened in the past. I would take it, and I want to give a lot of credit to Hakeem Jeffries. When I sat down with him when I first became Speaker, we talked about this Select Committee. And the goal of this Select Committee is to speak with one voice. And I have been very impressed with the chairman and the ranking member of how they carried about themselves. And this isn't the only meeting that a number of them are going to do. They're going to go throughout California, meeting in others. And part of the Select Committee is finding places in America so we're not dependent on other countries, be it critical minerals, be it medical. Making America stronger makes the world safer. And that's the unique goal that all of us have, and that's what we're working towards. Yeah.
So, in the recent days, Kevin McCarthy has actually increased his support for Ukraine. Especially, he's been saying here that Ukraine, if they would have gotten more munitions years ago, could have helped prevent Russia's invasion by stockpiling them beforehand. Now, I think he kind of mentions that they would have bought them, whether here nor there. But he's saying that here with Taiwan now as well. The more they're prepared now may help prevent China from invading. Now, the biggest thing here is that there's a much bigger disparity in population between Ukraine and Russia versus China and Taiwan. You can see the current population of Taiwan is about 24 million. 24 million. The population of China is 1.45 billion. 1.4 billion. So you can see the population of Taiwan is a tiny fraction versus China. If China goes to invade Taiwan, it's literally like a tiny little country versus China. Whereas Russia, I'll show you, Russia has about 146 million. 146 million, you could see them. It's not 1.4 billion. It's 146 million. So literally, that's about a tenth of the size of China. So you can see 90% smaller, right, than China. Huge difference here. I also want to show you Ukraine's population here. So about almost twice the size of Taiwan. So a much bigger difference there between sizes there. When you're being invaded, they're 90% smaller than China and twice the size, almost twice the size of Taiwan. Okay, so when you're invaded there. But I want to show you the difference here. In 2020, they had almost 45 million people. And when you look at 2023, they've gone from almost 44, 45 million people down to 36, 37 million people because of the several million people that fled the country. Most of it being women and children, but still you can see the population decline of the Ukraine because of the war and being ravaged by Russia. Yeah, so the thing is, if Taiwan actually does get attacked or invaded by China, I don't really think it's going to go quite the way it is in Ukraine. Remember, Ukraine's holding their own very, very well. I mean, literally, Russia's stalled for months in one or two cities and not really gaining any ground. Still, a year later, I don't think it's going to go that way in Taiwan versus China, which is 10 times larger than Russia, and the country is half the size of Ukraine. So I think the best deterrence would be for it to not happen. But how do you do that? If China wants to do it, who's going to stop it? So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country and around the world on a daily basis. So make sure you're subscribed down below. Click the bell icon after you do. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day on our YouTube channel. And thanks for liking and sharing these videos here as well. Here's some videos you should watch next. Here's what's happening in all 50 states because of what the Fed is doing. Really good video there. And here's something that just happened in Russia that everybody needs to know about. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.